Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving straight into, well, a real collision zone. It's where the incredible speed and, frankly, the frenzy of AI funding meets some messy realities.
Absolutely. Global politics, tech failures in the real world, regulation trying to catch up.
Yeah.
It's all happening at once.
And we've got a stack of sources that really cover the map today, haven't we? From these huge private equity numbers in AI.
All the way to, drone crashes and even how your local grocery store prices might change.
Right. So, our mission here is quick synthesis for you. We want to cut through that noise and help you understand what actually matters right now.
We'll unpack the big AI boom, maybe bubble, and the market frat that comes with it.
Then we'll look at the risks emerging, tech safety, censorship debates.
And finally, the bigger picture, geopolitics, the ripple effects from things like the U.S. government shutdown and this boom in defense tech.
Okay, let's start right there. With the sheer amount of money flooding into AI, it feels like a paradox, doesn't it? Exciting, but maybe a bit dangerous.
That's a good way to put it. Dangerous potential, perhaps.
Well, undeniably exciting for some. Look at OpenAI. They just wrapped up a massive $6.6 billion share sale. And that pushed their internal valuation towards, what, $500 billion?
$500 billion. It's astronomical, especially for a technology that's still, relatively speaking, pretty young.
It is, but that raises the question, right? At what cost? We're hearing whispers from private equity investors. The word froth keeps coming up.
It does. I mean, you see private AI companies getting valued at 50, 60, even 100 times their revenue multiples, sometimes higher. That demands perfection, doesn't it? Immediate, massive growth.
100 times revenue. I mean, are investors just setting themselves up for another dot-com crash? Even Jeff Bezos chimed in on this. He called it an industrial bubble.
He did, yeah. He pointed to what he called very unusual behavior, like a tiny company, maybe 6 people, getting billions in funding. It's based almost purely on future potential, not current earnings.
So the bundle analogy feels pretty apt when the numbers seem so disconnected from today's reality.
Exactly. But, and this is the really interesting part of his take, he still fundamentally believes AI is, quote, real, and it is going to change every industry. That's the core message.
Okay, so it's a bubble, but maybe not a bad bubble.
That's his argument. He compared it to the biotech bubble back in the 90s. Most of those companies went bust.
Right. Loads of them failed.
But society got enormous benefits from the underlying inventions. Gene sequencing, new therapies, stuff that really changed medicine. So his point is, even if these AI valuations collapse for many firms, the tech itself spreads, gets better, and ultimately transforms industries. Society gets a huge return, even on the failed capital.
That's a fascinating perspective. Market failure doesn't necessarily mean societal failure. And this huge investment, it's not just staying in Silicon Valley, is it? It's going global, fast.
Oh, absolutely. Look at Japan. Hitachi's stock jumped over 10% just after announcing a partnership with OpenAI. They're building the AI infrastructure, the data centers.
So the demand for the actual physical hardware is creating winners overseas already.
Definitely. And then you look at South Korea, the big memory chip makers, Samsung, SK Hynix. Their stocks are up too. Why? Because they're supplying the essential chips OpenAI needs. The whole ecosystem benefits, especially the infrastructure players.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Let's talk about the user-facing side. The competition for AI agents is really heating up. Perplexity AI just did something interesting.
Yeah, they made their AI browser, Comet, the one that acts like a personal assistant for search and drafting. They made it globally available for free.
Wait, wasn't that part of their $200 a month max subscription before? Making it free? That sounds like a really aggressive move.
It's extremely aggressive. It puts huge pressure on rivals. Google's got Gemini and Chrome, Anthropic's in the mix. OpenAI has Operator. When a strong competitor just drops the price barrier like that on a premium tool.
It forces everyone else's hand, basically. Accelerate features, make things more accessible.
Exactly. Market leaders have to react.
So, going back to the investors, if they see this froth, as they call it, how are they navigating it? Where are they putting their money, if not just chasing hype?
Well, the smart money seems to be focusing on immediate tangible value. Find companies solving real, costly business problems today.
Okay, like what?
The sources mentioned a German AI firm, Cognigy. Their whole focus is automation. Apparently, they can automate something like 70 to 80% of customer support tasks right now.
Wow, 70 to 80%.
Yeah, that kind of measurable, immediate cost saving, that's what attracts serious investment when, betting on purely theoretical potential starts to feel too risky, too expensive.
That move from theory to practice, from potential to deployment, it naturally brings us to this tension between innovation and, well, physical safety. We saw a really stark example with that Amazon Prime Air drone incident.
Yeah, down in Tolleson, Arizona, two of Amazon's delivery drones, the MK-30s, actually collided with a construction crane boom, a stationary one.
The stationary crane, ouch, were people hurt?
Thankfully, no serious injuries, but both drones had substantial damage, and one person nearby needed evaluation for possible smoke inhalation.
That's worrying, especially because Amazon really promotes the advanced sense and avoid systems on these drones. Now the FAA and NTSB are investigating, and Amazon had to pause deliveries there.
It really makes you question things, doesn't it? Is the tech just not quite there yet for complex environments?
Yeah.
Or is the regulation lagging behind? A stationary object should be easy for an advanced system to spot.
Yeah, the pause suggests they know there are still real-world kinks to work out before this scales up safely in, like, busy urban areas.
Absolutely. It shows that algorithms haven't quite conquered messy reality yet.
Okay, let's switch from physical risk to digital risk. OpenAI's new video model, Sora 2. It's creating incredibly realistic clips, almost too realistic.
I mean, the fact that a deep fake clip of their own CEO, Sam Altman, shoplifting GPUs went viral, it kind of perfectly captures the power and the danger, right?
It really does. How can something look so real so quickly? It feels like it could be weaponized instantly.
And that's the internal struggle at OpenAI, apparently. They're trying to balance putting in strict guardrails, banning explicit stuff, impersonating real people, but they're also worried about stifling creativity or looking like censors.
It's a tough tightrope to walk, especially in public. But is the push towards artificial general intelligence, AGI, really the main driver here? Is that why they're moving so fast on video?
That seems to be the underlying motivation, yes.
Right.
Experts see video generation as a key step towards AGI. The idea is you can use AI-generated video, essentially simulated reality, to train even better, more capable AI models.
Using AI to train AI. Interesting. Now, this tension between tech platforms, politics, and safety, it played out very clearly with Apple's decision on the IceBlock app this week.
Right. Apple pulled the app. It let users anonymously report sightings of icy agents. This came after pressure from Attorney General Pam Bondi.
And Apple's reasoning?
They cited specific safety risks based on information they got from law enforcement. They specifically mentioned an incident where a gunman who attacked an ICE facility in Dallas had apparently searched for apps like that beforehand.
It really highlights the liability these platforms face, doesn't it? A tool meant to give users agency can also be seen as creating risk.
Exactly. And you had the developer defending the app, saying it was a tool against aggressive enforcement, even making comparisons to Nazi Germany.
Strong words.
Very. Well, on the other side, ICE officials argued the app essentially paints a target on their officers. It's that impossible position tech companies find themselves in, policing content that hits right at the intersection of politics and public safety.
Okay, one more regulatory flashpoint. Electronic shelf labels, or ESLs, they're replacing paper price tags everywhere.
Yeah, rapidly. Big chains like Whole Foods, Walmart's planning to put them in, 2,300 stores by 2026. The global market for this tech is set to hit over $7.5 billion soon.
The efficiency gain is obvious. Changing prices digitally takes minutes versus days for store staff with paper tags.
Huge efficiency gain. But the conflict comes from lawmakers worried about dynamic pricing. The fear is stores could use these tags for surge pricing, hiking prices based on demand, maybe even the weather, or what competitors are doing nearby.
Like Uber surge pricing, but for milk and eggs.
That's the fear. But the retailers are pushing back hard on that. Kroger explicitly denies doing surge pricing. They argue the labels help manage inventory better and actually let them lower prices faster on things about to expire.
Which could reduce food waste, potentially?
Potentially, yes. Some studies suggest dynamic pricing can cut food waste significantly, maybe up to 21%, because they can adjust prices quickly for perishables. And Amazon also stated they have no plans for surge or dynamic pricing. But that suspicion, especially from regulators, it lingers.
Okay, let's shift focus now to the geopolitical stage. High-tech competition there is really driving investment. We saw Russian President Putin issue a pretty stark warning, didn't we?
He did. He warned about a completely new stage of escalation if the U.S. sends long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine.
Why Tomahawk specifically?
His point was that using Tomahawks effectively would require direct involvement from American military personnel, which in his view makes the U.S. a more direct participant in the conflict.
And he also pushed back on the idea of NATO strength, responding to Russia being called a paper tiger.
Yeah, questioning the bloc's resolve. It's all part of this wider shift towards what analysts call great power competition.
And we're seeing the effects in Europe, too, right? Leaders there talking about a drone wall.
Exactly. Calls for a high-tech drone defense system along the eastern border, spurred by reports of airspace violations. It reflects this new reality of modern conflict involving cyber, space, and advanced tech.
And this demand for high-tech defense, it's fueling a massive investment boom back here in the U.S., isn't it?
Oh, explosive is the right word. Venture capital funding for U.S. defense tech startups, people are calling them the neoprimes, hit around $38 billion just in the first half of 2025.
Hang on, neoprimes. What exactly are those?
Think of them as the new generation of defense contractors. They're often private, very digitally focused companies. Anduril, Palantir, those are probably the best known examples.
Okay, got it. And they specialize in?
Dual-use technologies, mostly. Things like AI, autonomy, advanced sensors, tech that has both military and commercial applications. And it's not just the U.S. European defense tech VC has apparently grown like 32 times over the last decade. It's a huge global trend.
It's fascinating to connect this back to our first segment. Private equity is maybe worried about froth in consumer AI, but they seem perfectly happy pouring billions into defense tech.
That really seems to be the key takeaway, doesn't it? The thinking might be that while consumer AI valuations could face a correction, the government's need for cutting-edge, dual-use tech, that feels much more stable, predictable, even accelerating because of geopolitics. The DoD is seen as a reliable customer.
Right. Now, bringing it closer to home, the U.S. government shutdown, it hit its third day.
Right.
What are the immediate economic effects we need to watch?
Well, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warned it could be a real hit to the GDP, a hit to growth, and a hit to working America. So broad economic pain is the concern.
And it affects policy decisions too, right? Like for the Federal Reserve.
Crucially, yes. The shutdown caused an economic data blackout. The September jobs report, the non-farm payrolls, paused. Didn't come out. And without that key data point.
It takes some pressure off the Fed before their next interest rate decision.
Exactly. Less data means less immediate pressure to act based on, say, a surprisingly hot jobs number.
And this political fighting over funding, it's having real-world impacts on infrastructure projects, too.
Yeah, we saw reports that the Trump administration put about $2.1 billion in Chicago infrastructure projects on hold. Things like the Red Line extension, the Red and Purple modernization.
Why the hold?
The official reason given by the Department of Transportation was a review of race and sex-based contracting requirements. This followed similar freezes on projects in New York. So infrastructure spending itself is becoming a political lever, which obviously impacts growth in major cities.
Okay, just before we wrap the news, a quick market note. There was a big fire at Chevron's El Segundo refinery in California. That's a major facility.
It is. Processes nearly 300,000 barrels a day. Fortunately, reports say no one was injured. And interestingly, crude oil futures were actually trending lower for the week anyway, despite the fire.
Huh. Okay. And finally, a little personal finance tidbit for you listening. Jim Cramer weighed in on retirement savings. 401k versus IRA.
Yeah, his advice was pretty straightforward. A 401k gives you that tax deferral, which is great. But, he argued, an IRA is often better if your employer doesn't offer a match, or if the investment options in their 401k plan are just, well, bad or high fee.
Because IRAs usually offer lower fees and more flexibility.
Generally, yes. More investment choices, often lower administrative costs. Something to consider as you plan your own saving strategy. Hashtag tag outro.
So let's just quickly recap the sheer scale we've covered today. We went from a potential $500 billion AI valuation facing bubble talk.
All the way down to the very real damage from a drone hitting a stationary crane.
And we saw political fights playing out over everything from infrastructure funding to the price tags on your groceries.
The thread tying it all together really seems to be the incredible speed of technology, AI, drones, digital labels, and how policy, safety rules, even market metrics are struggling desperately to keep pace.
Yeah, innovation is just moving so fast that the reactions from regulators, politicians, they seem almost abrupt. Pausing drone flights, freezing funds.
That friction, that gap between tech speed and real-world absorption, that really defines the landscape right now.
Absolutely. And on that complex note, here's a final thought for you to consider, looking much further ahead. It's about the massive generational wealth transfer that's happening.
Right now, baby boomers make up nearly half, about 45%, of the ultra-wealthy population, people with $30 million or more.
But the projections are striking. By 2040, millennials and Gen Z are expected to account for over a third of that group, with Gen X actually taking the lead demographic spot among the ultra-wealthy.
Think about that. This huge accelerating transfer of wealth, often wealth built on tech fortunes or inherited from previous generations, it's going to fundamentally shift investment priorities and probably corporate values too.
We already know younger generations tend to prioritize different industries, tech, hospitality maybe, and they might have very different views on ESG factors compared to their parents or grandparents.
Exactly. So this coming wave of shifting values driven by this unprecedented wealth shift, and something every company, every investor really needs to start thinking about and preparing for right now. Because that future, it's arriving faster than any algorithm predicted.
A powerful thought to end on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.